So I just spent the last 2 minutes talking into the camera and recording the first episode for you about alcohol consumption, and I thought it was quite good. It was all in focus. Unfortunately there was no sound. There's a little tiny lead on the top of the camera there, didn't have it set in. Oh dear. Anyway, I'm glad I went back and stopped it and then re-recorded this bit so that I didn't do the whole complete series with no sound. You know, that would have been good, wouldn't it? Anyway, what was I talking about? So the keen people out there who's watching these videos with intense scrutiny will notice that I've had a shave for you. I put the first lot of the videos in on a Mac and for the intro for this, and I thought, oh my god, that looks a bit scruffy. Anyway, the content was there, so you know, you don't need to look at the screen, just listen, like, do you know what I mean? Anyway, but for those who watch and like to see my pretty face, then I'm no longer the Clint Eastwood, you know, guy walking about on a stubbly horse anymore. I've had a nice bit of a clean shave. And I'll just add here that hygiene, self-hygiene is unfortunately one of the side effects of when people get dementia. They forget to wash themselves or clean themselves, clean their teeth and brush their hair, and, well, not that I can brush my hair, of course. Well, I could, but I got hair under my arms, but nowhere else. Oh, that was a bit of a giveaway, wasn't it? Right, back to the video. So personal hygiene, yeah, it's one of the things that sometimes is the dementia steals away from us. So occasionally I'll walk past my wife and she'll say, "Oh, have you had a shower today in the last couple of days, John?" And I'll say, yeah. So if I'm walking towards her, like, you know, she'll open her bathroom door and kick me in, like, you know, say, "You're not coming out unless you shower." Like, yeah. No, it's not quite that bad, but it is a thing, is a known thing, like personal hygiene with people. So if you see somebody on forgetfulness and they've got all stubble and they stink to high heaven, chances are they might have dementia as well, you know, and that's the cause of it. But also the other flip side of it is, if you've been with somebody all your life, like particularly a man, because we smell more than women, most women smell really nice, and he starts ponging a bit, like, you know, it might be that if he has not got dementia, it could be that maybe, you know, get tested, like, you know, just for that, because it's not a normal thing, you know. Right, okay, anyway, I'm sidetracked again. Another thing, another quick thing about dementia is that you get sidetracked with things. Seagull just crapped on our roof up there. Go away. Yeah. Anyway, so where was I? Oh yeah, so episode 1 now I'm going to talk about is called alcohol consumption. See, I've done my homework, got all my notes and checked all the facts and things like that. So what I'll do is, at the beginning of each section or episode, if you like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a big screen across for 4 seconds or so that if you're flipping backwards and forwards to it, you'll clearly see which bit you want, like, you know, whether it's to do with eyesight loss or alcohol consumption, smoking, all those horrible things that I'm going to be talking about. But I'm going to be explaining to you the reasons why those things are bad for or good for your high risk of getting dementia, if you like. So yeah, look out for that. So I'll see you in a minute after the big screen comes across, which should read alcohol consumption. There we go, got that right then, didn't I? So, alcohol consumption, what we're talking about here in relation to dementia is heavy, long-term drinking over a long period in people's lives. So me, for instance, in my teens and early 20s, probably into my 30s even, I drank heavily. Whenever I could get some money from somewhere, then I would buy alcohol with it. Like, you know, whether it was when I went to school, even I arrived in school drunk quite a few mornings. I can recall. It was all to do with some traumas I had when I was a child, family breakup and abuse and all other things, like, you know, but so that was the reason behind it. But anyway, regardless of the reason, I did that. And so I'm pretty certain I've added myself a point for that, 1 point in the list of 14. So one out of 14 for me at the moment. But how does it affect dementia? Well, drinking in high quantities over a long period does affect the white matter in the brain. So not the actual cells themselves or the memories and the things that's already there, but it does interfere with the interconnecting trackways that go through the white matter to get from one part of the brain to the other part of the brain. So, for instance, your walking ability, your feet, for instance, is in one part of your brain, and your ideal thinking to move and walk with them is in another part of the brain. Well, if you drink a lot of alcohol, it interferes with that. That's why people stagger about when they've drunk too much, like, you know. But those are always temporary. If you just drink too much once and you get drunk, getting slightly drunk is almost like what dementia is all the time. Like, you know, it's with us all the time like that. There's a part of being drunk is similar to having dementia. That's not to say that it's a nice thing having dementia and you just feel like you've had a couple of bottles of wine or something every day. No, it's not like that at all. But I think it's the interference of your thoughts and the processing of your brain is similar in some ways, like, you know. So long-term alcohol abuse or drinking, like, you know, does have a massive impact on your risks of developing dementia. Don't forget, once you've developed dementia, you can't get rid of it. Okay, so it's a one-off thing, like, you know. So I'm here to advise you as best I can, using myself as an example, a poor example of what you might consider not doing or following, in the hope that some of you might decide to relook at or reconsider your lifestyle choices and think, oh, well, I actually don't want dementia. How can I lessen my risks of it? This is one way, you know. Don't do all that long-term heavy drinking, like, you know. Going out for an odd drink, as long as you're under the, bizarrely, it's the same number as well. So the 14 units of alcohol per week is okay, like, you know. And although minusculely probably having a down effect on your risks of an up effect on your getting your risks of dementia in later life, it's not huge. Whereas if you do it every day, that does have a huge parabolic bigger effect on whether you're going to get dementia or not. And dementia in your later years, like 50s, 60s and 70s and 80s, like, you know. I mean, I was diagnosed at age 19, not 19, I was 59 when I finally got diagnosed, so I probably had it a few years before that in me, undiagnosed, like, you know. And that's the dangerous part, like, you know. It is also the depressing part, if you like, because there's something going on, you don't know what the hell it is, like, you know. Anyway, so that's alcohol and why it's a thing that you can adjust through your life early on if you want to.